business is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And at this time, I'm going to call upon Councilman Edenton Bond to lead us in our invocation.
We all bow our ears, please. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to Thee this evening to say thank you. Thank you for all the blessings and wonderful things that you've given us and done for us, for all your mercy. Thank you most of all for your precious Son, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Our Father, please look upon the council members and help us to do things to improve Edenton, to make it better, safer, and nicer. Please let us all work together as a team and do what's best for our little small town. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you as always, Councilman Bond. Our next order of business is our approval of minutes. We've got minutes from our regular special meetings and closed session meetings from October 8th and 28th. We have received those ahead of the meeting. Are there any requests for changes or comments as to those minutes before we approve them? Anyone? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving our minutes from October, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval carries. The next agenda item is our public comment. We have 3 persons that are signed up tonight. We'd just like to remind everyone, as always, your comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Our first speaker is Joni Evans. Ms. Evans, come forward. Good evening.
I'm Joni Evans. I live at 813 Johnston Street, Edenton. The Alcoholic Social Historic District has been in place for a year now, and I'm thankful to hear that there have been no visible major problems with the district. However, some of us in Edenton and the surrounding county still have deep pains as we see our beautiful town turn more and more to alcohol. As I have mentioned in previous meetings, alcohol seems to almost have tentacles that keep reaching out and gaining more territory, more hours, more consumers, and more alcoholic businesses because of its progressive nature. This can be readily seen in the changes in Edenton over the last 10 years. I recently heard a message by a noted theologian, J. Vernon McGee, who recaptured the ancient history of the Roman Empire, and he told how over its long history, the Roman Empire decayed from within, and one of its major downfalls was alcohol. He went on to say that prior empires suffered the same fate. Neither learned from the other's failures. Some of you may remember Nikita Khrushchev, Soviet premier in the 1950s and 60s, who made a statement that Russia did not have to worry about America because America would destroy itself from within. Our great nation is in deep trouble, and alcohol and drugs are major contributors. Alcohol ranks number 1 for substance abuse in America. Currently, 178,000 people die each year in the United States alone. $10 billion are spent just in North Carolina each year for alcoholic-related illnesses, accidents, rehabilitation, counseling, and other. People's lives are being shattered by this substance. Families are broken and children are suffering because of it. And it is all about making money at the cost of humanity. We must wake up and open our eyes. Attempts are being made to normalize alcohol, and there is nothing normal about it. We have been blessed here in North Carolina with a beautiful little town. Let's not ruin it. We do not have to be like every other town. Last year, I remember Councilman Bond saying, just before the vote was taken for the social district, that Edenton has been a tourist town for many decades. Mr. Bond said that he did not want to see our pretty little town become something that it is not. I think that is already happening. The social district is surrounding the children's playground, which is the premier playground in town. Some of these children most likely have alcohol in their homes every day. On how nice it would be for just 1 or 2 hours, they would not have to be exposed to more. Children watch everything and they know what is going on. In addition, how nice it would be if our children would go to watch a movie in our theater without alcohol. Let's turn the clock back and restore this town to the beauty within that it once held before it is too late.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Our next speaker is John Mitchner. John?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. On the new business, you got some very expensive purchases that you're looking at. Bigger trucks, bucket trucks, etc. Roughly 2016, 17, 18, the county commissioners began to look at a different way of buying cars for county agencies, the sheriff, EMS, etc. And they did it, found out they could be done sort of a lend-lease thing, just like you could lease an automobile, and then you can trade it in a few years later for a brand new, updated automobile. I have no idea what that market works out in terms of bucket trucks, but with the dollars involved, I think it would be worth your while to explore it. And if nobody else is doing it now, perhaps you can be the spur to get them started doing it. Because I can't imagine how many thousands of bucket trucks are used in this country now to hear after the disasters in western North Carolina and other areas hit by the hurricanes. So again, explore this other possibility. Instead of outright purchase, lease, with the option to get it updated, whatever, in 4, 6, 8 years, whatever terms you work out. County has found it worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Ted from Cypress Drive is probably my eyesight and not your.
I saw your own paper.
Oh, you did, okay. Because I was gonna struggle with your last name, Stricker.
Yeah.
I could not read it, so I was gonna
Yeah.
apologize. It may have been my
No, you're all
eyesight.
You're all doing a great job. Mr. Miller invited me from last night. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you for being here with us. Did you think it was a, did you think it was a sign in?
I think we thought maybe
Okay.
sign it.
Thank you, Mr. Stricker. Okay, thank you for the public comment, and we next move to our committee meetings. We only have one committee meeting scheduled tonight. That's Administrative Committee chaired by Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one item, which is the social district ordinance review. At our October 28th council committee meeting, the council was presented with an update on the social district plan from both Chess Chesson and Dwayne Wilson. In addition to the plan update, the council was presented with 2 new amendment proposals to the existing social district plan. The first amendment proposal pertained to the geographic expansion of the plan, and the second amendment proposal dealt with the expansion of the social district hours to 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 5 to 9, and Saturday and Sunday continued at 11 to 9. The Administrative Committee have taken the 2 new amendment proposals under advisement and have unanimously recommended both amendment proposals to the council. With that said, I make a motion that we approve the 2 new amendment proposals to the social district plan.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and second. This was discussed at the last committee meeting, and I didn't know since last meeting if there was any further discussion or any further comments that anyone wanted to make. We discussed it fairly substantially at that point in time. Are there any?
So 7 days a week and 8 hours again?
What's that?
So 7 days a week and, 5 to 9, 5 to 9.
Okay, we've got a motion and second and no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. The next agenda items are under our new business, and we've got a number of things that we need to discuss. The first one under 7A is the Next Grid Professional Services and Support Agreement. You will recall that we had voted to table our vote on this pending final review by Next Grid's attorneys and also by our attorney. There were a couple of things they went back and forth on, Mr. Gooden, that I understand we've gotten ironed out, and the attorney has given us approval to go ahead and move forward with this matter.
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the Next Grid agreement? Okay, we got a motion and a second. We have discussed this several times in the past and tabled it. Is there any further discussion from those previous meetings we discussed? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the Next Grid agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have approved that agreement, Corey, so you can move forward with that. The next item is the financing proposals and budget resolution for the purchase of the electric digger truck. Some of you that were here then may recall this was actually voted on back in 2023 and included in our 2023 budget. As these things go right now, there's a 1.5 to 2 year minimum lag time on these trucks being finished out. We did receive 2 proposals. The administration had come back with the Truist Bank proposal, which is a 5-year term for a 4.10 interest rate, which includes a total payback of $414,682. The administration is recommending the approval of the Truist Bank proposal, and then we also, in the same motion, can have a budget amendment to recognize the incoming asset and incoming money and the expenditure of that money.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And you're fine with us combining that
Yes,
into
sir.
one motion? Okay, does anyone want to take a stab at that motion? Lawyer Dixon?
So, I mean, I move that we accept the financing proposal and budget resolution for the electric digger truck and for the electric bucket truck.
Second.
All right, got a motion and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I think you tried to put in the second one. Is that okay procedurally?
Yeah, I put them both in,
Yeah, but-
same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they are similar as long as we approve financing, which both were Truist, and both did have a budget amendment resolution to match the 2023 fiscal year, so just we can.
Both of them were approved in fiscal year
Yes.
2023.
Yes.
All right, so we have, by Councilman Dixon's motion, have approved both B and C under the new business. Moving on to the next item of new business, there's a Partif accessibility grant agreement. This is for finalization of park improvements to our park in Morgan Park. The Partif funds are administered by the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. And Corey, that is a 4-to-1 match, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. It is. However, it looks like there was one issue in the agreement from the state. The wording there read it as a 5-to-1, so Dwayne and I are going to follow up to make sure we get the correct agreement that matches. So the recommendation would be for the council to approve the agreement with the one contingency that we get the corrected language as far as the matching portion.
And the actual dollars would be, it's a grant for $391,437.
That's correct.
and our part would be $97,859.
That's correct.
And throughout the grant process, we had been told and understood it was a 4-to-1 match,
Yes, sir.
and those numbers I just cited do equal a 4-to-1 match.
That's correct.
So basically, there was a typo.
Yeah.
Could have been in our favor, but
Yeah.
yeah. We'll verify if it's 5-to-1, but if we approve this and it is 5-to-1, it actually gets better.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
That's correct.
Are y'all comfortable?
So the numbers are accurate, it's just that
The
word-
term for the match portion for the state in section 1 is incorrect.
Gotcha.
The numbers, Councilman Constant, come out to a 4-to-1 match.
Gotcha.
Well, if everyone's comfortable, I'm certainly comfortable with calling for a motion on the grant agreement.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilman Constant and a second by Councilman Turner. Any further discussion and/or questions of town manager? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the Parteeth Accessibility Grant Agreement for Morgan Park, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, we've got a memorial bench request that has been requested by Dr. Slade's family. I've got a lot of fond memories of Dr. Slade, but his family has requested that a bench be installed in front of his office building at 413 South Broad Street. I remember him for years just being a consummate gentleman.
I worked with him 15 years.
Absolutely gentleman and
Great
just
guy.
calm.
Uh,
I remember that big round reserve for Dr.
yeah,
Slade
it's out of the
sign.
hospital
And
now.
that old, the cool old car.
Yeah, that, it was like a Del Rey Chevrolet that
Yeah.
he kept forever.
Do y'all remember he was recognized on the Oprah Winfrey Show by Hillary Clinton as one of five people nationally that exemplified the meaning of Hillary Clinton's book, It Takes a Village. And he got several awards for that. He was the most humble, compassionate, wonderful man.
Easy going.
Easy going. I could see him driving that 1958 Chevrolet right now. Remember that?
And he kept it forever.
He kept it forever.
Did he keep it to his death? Didn't he?
He did.
That's how I recall it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in the yard when he died.
Yeah.
Dwayne helped us with this. The family reached out to us and we put him in touch with Dwayne. And there's a lot of other things that we could say about him. He was one of the first African-American medical students at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Was he the first? Or one of
One of the first.
Top three,
Yeah,
okay.
one of the, like, top 4 or 5 from what I understand. But Dwayne, is there anything else that you need to add? We didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Oh,
but
no,
a lot of people who've been here for a while remember him quite fondly.
no, you hit the nail on the head. When we work with Public Works, they already got quotes, and we work with the family going forward, so this is just something
And
that's great.
how is it scheduled when you have the ceremony? Because I know several of us would like to make sure we don't miss that.
Yeah, so I'll reach out to the family, I reached out to her, she called me back this morning, I spoke with her, let her know it was coming in front of council for approval. We'll schedule something and have some sort of ceremony here in the near future, whenever she's able to make it. I know she's elderly now, I think in her 90s, so whenever we can get her family down here.
Was that Catherine Slade?
Yeah, Catherine Slade.
Are they still in
I realized she
Charlotte?
was in 90s.
She's still in
She's
Charlotte?
She is in Wilson.
Mayor, just to give everyone kind of an idea, the really only gatekeeper on that would just be lead times as far as getting the bench here and making sure the memorial is correct that's placed on that. I mean, that's really the only timing. If this thing were here and ready, I mean, we could schedule it soon.
Do we normally get them and then store them and then time it so there's no?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I think it's certainly worthy, but I would entertain a motion that we
So
approve
moved.
that. Okay, we got a motion, second. Any further discussion or comments on your memories of Dr. Slade? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? None? Okay, we have approved that request. I look forward to that. That'll be nice. The next agenda item is the town manager's report, so this time I'm gonna hand that over to Corey Good.
All right, thank you, Mayor. On October 8th, 2024, we did get 2 public comments that we wanted to provide a response with. The first was from Mr. Hal Murray, first being upset that the Hayes questions from the previous meeting had not been included in the official minutes. That same meeting on October 8th, an itemized recap of the questions that Mr. Murray had shared with us were shared with the general public and also recorded in the minutes. So I think we've satisfied that. The second item Mr. Murray had concern with was the 400 block of South Mosley. Mr. Murray has stated that the asphalt had been removed and landscaped to appear as private ownership. I did want to share with the council and the general public that this is incorrect, that the area in question has never been maintained or paved by the town. Again, no improvements have ever taken place by the town. The area in question is also one of the many paper streets that are within the town of Edenton. These areas were historically mapped and never expanded into. Currently, there are multiple paper streets within the town that have been mapped but have never been developed. If you remember, there's been a handful of those that council has elected to either dissolve or do something within the last few years. And this is consistent here with this location being a paper street. We have identified that. And at this time, what I'd like to update is that the town has elected to take no action regarding this area. The second public comment that we received was from Mr. Wayne Caskey on political intimidation. I did want to let the board know that I had spoken with the police chief about this incident, and for this incident and any others, we urge the public to please call the police department and share whatever evidence that they may have related to these type of occurrences. We will do everything the law allows us to do to bring these individuals to justice. Hopefully, with the election being over, this will show itself as an isolated event. However, if it's not, we do encourage residents to please call the Edenton Police Department. Also, under items considered timely and important, Mayor High, I personally thank myself and Eric for our efforts in Old Fort. I did want to just let the board know that we were glad to help and continue at any time with our friends to the west. Mayor High also had some paving concerns with the upcoming temperatures. I did want to let the public and council know that both Granville and North Broad are currently having concrete repairs being made, and they're still planning on paving behind this work. Mayor High also thanked the police chief for some of the cleanup accommodations that we needed on East King Street. Chief and I spoke about that the day of, and as always, job well done. Councilman Turner asked, where's the line for NCDOT and the town for Granville? And we did explain that at that meeting, that it was at the intersection of West Colorado Street, and that's still true. We also had a concern around the WASP in the 100 block of East King, and these items have been addressed since the last meeting, and if there are any more issues, we'll follow up with the properties along that 100 block of East King. We did speak to some of the residents, business residents that are there, and also asked them to make sure that they check their properties as well, and that any locations that we had identified, we had tried to work with those property owners to get that resolved. And that's all I have for my manager's report, Mayor.
Okay, thanks for following up on all those things. The next agenda item is items considered timely and important to council. So I'd open up the floor to council. If you've got any items considered timely and important, bring those forward.
Just a question, Mayor. Corey, do you think Granville Street will be complete before we start with Broad?
I hope so. I think Granville's taking a little bit longer than expected with some of the concrete repairs. I stopped over there this morning, and they had made it approximately to the MLK and Albemarle intersection. And they'll continue after speaking to them. It's taken them roughly a week and a half per block to get through. I have not spoken with the contractor on Broad Street to figure out how far they are along on the concrete repairs. However, if you remember last week, they were pretty isolated repairs versus the extensive amount of repair work that they're doing on Granville. From day one, we've encouraged DOT to make sure that the contractors understand that these things cannot align. We'll continue to do that, but I do just think, due to the nature of the work at the two locations, that we would see one contractor finish sooner than the other.
That brings to mind a question I have, based on past experience, how long does it take your typical contractor to pave a block? And what I'm getting at is, once they start, how long is it gonna take, for example, to do Granville?
It would be fairly quick.
Because that's quicker than the concrete.
Yes, the
work, right?
concrete work, if you remember on most of our projects, there's at least a month in advance, 3 weeks at minimum on some of the smaller things that we've done where the paving was assumed to follow afterwards. And the volume of staff and equipment that comes in behind that to pave is pretty impressive. And it is a sunrise to sunset paving excursion, so I do expect the paving to go a lot quicker than the concrete work.
Now, Broad Street, they're just touching up some of the broken curbing?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Court, I got one.
Yes, sir?
It's the same old one.
Oh, I mentioned it.
Look at Corey, don't look
I'm
at
looking
me.
at
But you're glancing over at me.
It's been a period of time that my ward, my entire ward, we still don't have sidewalks, we don't have curbing, we still got ditches that need to be filled in. And out on Hereford Road, we still got 18-wheelers that's running rapid. Now, they can get on the walkie-talkie and talk to each other. If there's no police cars within the area, I got 18-wheelers running up and down that road 55 miles an hour. And sometimes there are double, one going one way, one going the other way. And it's dangerous out there because we still got kids playing in the street, folks walking for their normal walks in the afternoon, and they ducking and dodging 18-wheelers. Someone promised me that I would have sidewalks this year, but this year is let's say this year is gone.
It's drawing close.
It's gone. And my people in my ward are looking at me like I'm crazy. You keep telling us that this stuff is gonna happen. We hear y'all in the meeting saying that it's gonna be done, money has been proposed for it, but we don't get it done. Y'all need to get the monkey off my back.
What can we do to help them? Because we do talk about, and I certainly don't blame Councilman Bond because I hope they're doing the same thing, but we do, he does have to bring it up almost every meeting.
We do, and if you remember this past week, we've tried to focus on some paving to go ahead and get that out of the way, which we had Iredale, North Oakham Circle, and Blade Street Circle, and there's one more that we've paved. We'd like to get that out of the way while the temperature's okay for it. We've already spoken with the contractors to get pricing, it's just a matter of scheduling. The good thing about the concrete and the sidewalks is that's something we can do into the cooler months. And so we've got a lot more flexibility there with that versus the paving. So we have focused on paving first, and we need to go ahead and get started on that, and I'll make sure far as the stormwater goes, you know, we've had this conversation, the winter time is the right time of year for us to get that done. I have spoken with David about that, we have pricing on some of the larger areas that we had talked about, and it's just a matter of scheduling. And so, I assure you, some of that work will be finished by the end of the year.
Please.
Yes, sir.
And also on the concern about the trucks, can we get some increased attention out there?
And Chief and I have spoke about that. One of the things that we're trying to do is partner with our highway patrol guys from the DOT enforcers, the DMV enforcers that actually do the weights and the scales, because we do have limits there. Now, there is an agriculture exemption. That's the,
We know about the agriculture, farm equipment.
but the large 53-foot draw boxes and the Connex boxes and things like that, they're just a part of daily commerce. There's alternatives. And so we'll work with them to try
And
to
the speed.
get some tickets
Yeah, and
out
it's
there on weights. And
We can't put up signs that says no 18-wheelers allowed.
we can, and I'm not sure why they haven't been installed yet. I mean, we talked about this early on this year.
Is that us or DOT? Is that-
No, it's ours.
Okay,
And so we'll make sure.
we got some control over that, we don't have
That's
much
right.
control over DOT.
So we'll get right on it.
Councilman Sellers, I saw you had raised your hand.
Yes, sir. Corey, I spoke with an officer the other day, who said he couldn't remember the last time he did not work at least 65 hours. A police officer. The way I understand it is they are all working hard to cover because we don't have enough officer staff. He said, I appreciate the overtime, but sometimes you want a weekend off. And I worry about those guys just running themselves ragged to the point that another offer from another department sounds really good to them, or they're not alert and up to the task that they have to be. Where are we on trying to fully staff the police department?
So the Chief and I have had a lot of discussion through October trying to get in front of this thing. We have, did a lot of research around pricing, for what new officers are making in other places to try to fill the vacancies. And we agree, the one challenge we've had is the recruitment piece. Tammy and I have also had discussions about this, as well as with Virginia. We're currently trying to figure out an alternative in the existing budget that allows us to do some type of accommodations to help, like we did back in 2022 with the recruitment piece. If you remember, we increased from around 11, 13 an hour up to 15 an hour to help us with the recruitment in 22 across the board. We're gonna have to find some type of option that's not impactful of this year's budget that we can prepare for in July 1. If, one of the things that we're struggling with this, and Tammy and I had this conversation with Becky, with the MAPS group that did the salary study just last week. We've got to get some preliminary data on the PD first. We have got to figure out, is there something we do mid-year in the interim to try to softly land what we can expect to be budgeted in July 1. I think right now we have 6 vacancies, 2 of which were a little higher paid positions. We're trying to explore options with freezing those positions to get some younger staff, patrol staff in. If you remember, the challenge that the barricade we really got here is a big no-no to do a budget amendment for operations, for salaries. Capital and things of that nature are a lot easier. So our job right now is to figure out how much is remaining because of the vacancies that we have and what type of adjustment can be made to at least recruit new officers. And the back end question of that is what do we do with the existing officers if they're not seeing anything? But that's not the first hurdle for us, filling those vacancies to get people into normal hours at kids.
So if money in the department is not being used towards something that we budgeted for, can that be pushed over to that?
So we've talked about that, we've tried to identify what non-operations funds we can hold off on till July 1 to shift those up to salaries. That may give us the cushion that's needed to do something that actually impacts all the workers there. But that's still gonna be quite a stair step for us in the change. And we've seen numbers from 14 to 18% in differences. So I mean, that's pretty substantial.
For other counties?
Yes.
Other
And
counties?
so right now we have 3 models that that we've worked through, one of which we found was not favorable with the existing staff, to try to get them to stay, some type of commitment to stay. Like you said, Councilman Sellers, they're more apt to have more time at home. And so that puts us back in a position where we've got to focus on the 4 vacancies that are entry level and how we make an adjustment just for them, which you know is going to raise a lot of flags in the spectrum, but we will try to find something and have it ready for council for our next full council meeting, which will be December
No.
9th. So
So
we're working on it, but it is a daunting task.
Well, I guess for me personally, I know, and for the general public safety is important, and because the chief came in after the fiscal year, I don't think any of us will have a concern if we need to make a budget amendment in the middle of a fiscal year for the sake of recruitment and retention. I personally, I don't want to speak for anyone else, I shouldn't have spoken for anyone else, but I don't have a problem with it. I personally had a concern with the acting chief setting the budget, but I knew we had to get a budget in before July 1. But if a budget amendment is needed for the sake of recruitment and retention, I don't personally have a problem with it. Because it sounds like there's a need. If you're saying that we have officers working 60 hours a week, taking them away from family, and we also have 6 vacancies out there, and that's because we can't recruit guys, yeah, that's a need, that's important.
And so,
Is this the most vacancies you've ever had at one time?
yes, it is, it is. And so, just to make sure everyone understands is that there's really 2 types of budget amendments. One that we can do in our office. This is something that when we talk about capital and things like that we can just mark off and move up. Those are fairly easy. The concern comes into if that's still not enough, and we were to have to come to council to do a fund balance transfer to only support the difference in what operations needs were. Those are something that's a no-no for our audits and our LGC findings, and that's something we gotta try to work around. So our work's cut out for us. Do we start with just the 4? I think that makes the most sense.
Is this statewide?
Yes,
It is,
yes.
okay.
We hope to get something back to affirm our decision from Miss Becky, who has been through this very recently. She shared with us that she had went through the same problem just this year with the city of Belhaven. They had to make kind of a mid-year shift, and we want to make sure that we get this data, that one, it's something that's competitive, so we know we get you here and you don't be here for a month and then you go to the place that's $1,000 more. So we want to get in front of that. So the number has to get us past a few of our peers. And I think that's the goal. So Chief and I will work on those 4 vacancies and understand that we will hold on the 2 going forward. So we'll get on that.
So the next council meeting, you'll definitely have something.
Yeah, we'll have something ready for the,
Something preliminary.
yeah.
Very good.
Okay,
I got one more question.
all right.
Natural gas. There are folks on the 4th ward who are crying for natural gas. And we think it's all around us. It's in every section.
It is. Didn't Brady get up there and do a survey? I thought he was supposed to do that.
Was that on Hereford Road or?
Of the Hereford Road and Paradise Road,
Yeah.
those 2 areas.
So the last conversation I had with him was on October 21st.
Okay.
And his advice was that he was going to try to locate at least 4 customers. And that was something that they needed to do to cover the install cost. We had shared 3 residents, there was one remaining one.
Have we recruited another resident since they're interested?
Corey,
Can you provide?
yeah, oh, I got a whole community,
Yeah.
but how could he go down Freemason Street and connect one house? If he's claiming that everybody else got to, that my people has got to have at least 4 customers, how can he go down one street in Edenton and connect one house?
Yeah.
And that house has natural gas, been having natural gas for the last 3 weeks now.
I do not know, but I'll be glad to find out.
Okay. See, 'cause all this information be coming to me, people be fussing at me, and I'm trying as hard as I can. I tell them I want natural gas and I can't get it, and it's down both ends of my street and behind me, and I can't get it.
Is he one of the 3?
Yes.
Is he one of the 3?
Yes.
Okay.
And Councilman Bond has been wonderful to try to find addresses and try to find customers, which we passed on to them to try to make their business model work. And so, I'll be glad for us to come in the office and sit down and say, here's what we got, here's where we've committed, we've got to get moving on this thing. I mean, this is 2+ years of the same situation.
Can you schedule a meeting between Councilman Bond and
Yes.
this representative and
Yes,
bring a couple more addresses and let's get this done?
yes.
Yeah, but Corey, it's been 2 years. I've been trying to get, even my mother, we've been trying to get this done for 9 years. We've had 2 whole communities,
Well, let's get it done.
and we still got no results.
Let's schedule that meeting.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, any,
Just one thing, I don't wanna step on Bond's toes about his, sidewalks, but when they do Broad Street, some of the sidewalks that are broken, that's not being done with the curbing right now?
No, they'll come back, they wanted to get what they could
That's
prep
on
for
them?
the asphalt, yeah, but those are DOT sidewalks.
Good.
If you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, they come in and put the ADA maps, but the state should fix any of those places.
Okay.
Well, we're still talking about Broad Street. Are we looking at any crosswalks there on Broad Street?
The only changes currently were the center turn lane piece, so I'll have to find out if DOT did anything for those intersections. Now, we have heard on the Twitty and Queen, they're working on, as well as the Virginia Road and Grand, as well as the Virginia Road and Broad Street intersection. I do have email confirmation. DOT is trying to work on that. I know that our Public Works had helped them on 2 of those locations, trying to identify line of sights and things that they had do. Particularly, I remember having a conversation with them about the Twitty and West Queen crosswalk.
We did have, when we approved the switch to 4 lanes, one of the big concerns was that it was gonna be harder to cross the street. So we should be adding crosswalks. That was a point that was far gone.
okay, thank you for your contribution to those items considered timely and important. The next agenda item is a closed session. Town council needs to go in closed session. 1, to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to NCGS 153-318-11A6, and then also later to consult with our town attorney pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11(3). And so at this time, I would ask for a motion and a second for us to go into closed session for those purposes.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will now move to closed session. We thank the general public for being here tonight.